Episode 18 of the Race and Pace podcast features Shannon Fisser, head girls coach for the Gruver Lady Hounds. Coming off a 38-2 season, which culminated in winning the 2A girls state title, Coach Fisser brings 21 years of education and coaching experience to the pod and was a blast to talk to. As always, thank you for listening to the Race and Pace podcast. Welcome to the Race and Pace podcast. I'm your pod host, Coach Stuart Richards. Today on this episode, I'm super excited and thrilled to have Coach Shannon Fisser from the head girls coach at Gruver High School. And his team this past year went 38-2 and won the 2A girls state title. Congratulations. And Coach, welcome to the podcast.
Man, thank you very much. And thanks for having me.
Oh, 100%. Thrilled you're on. Can't wait to pick your brain and learn about you and your program. So why don't you give us a background about yourself, Coach?
Well, I've been coaching for finishing up my 21st year. Graduated high school from a small little town called Sudan, Texas. Grew up in the athletic world all my life. Married with 3 kids. Wife is totally engaged in what we do. Coaches' wives, I'm telling you, there's nothing like them. They're a special unit, special people. Great kids. Love the game of basketball. Have never rewritten the rules on anything necessarily, but I've been very fortunate to be in a lot of great programs and great situations, making the playoffs. I believe it is 16 out of 19 years. So I've been really blessed and fortunate to have some great kids, great communities, great admin, great staff. Had one heck of a year this year that it's always kind of special when you end your last year with a victory. So, again, a little bit about me, but not real complicated guy.
I love it, Coach. And I mean, not very many coaches and teams and schools get to experience winning ending your season with a W. So let's talk a little bit about this dream season you guys had, hoisting the 2A state title up. Congratulations. And what would be some keys to this past season when you break it down in terms of the success y'all had? What were things that you saw along the way that made this team so phenomenal?
Well, one was the group that we had this year. In 21 years of coaching, I've had some great teams, but there was a little bit something extra with this group that we had this year. They were special. They made my job extremely easy with their basketball IQ, their work ethic, their belief systems, our staff that we had. Losing last year to Wellington in the quarterfinals by 4, I think gave us a light. If you will, kind of like, guys, we can make this happen. We've got the pieces of the puzzle to put this thing together and be successful. Went through a great summer, played a lot of basketball, played a lot of good teams in the summer, saw some good things. And so off season comes around. We're really hitting it hard, doing a lot of things, looking really, really sharp, really good. The basketball season itself opens up. And we're playing good basketball and we're doing some good things. But I think the turning point, if I had to say, would be when we played Panhandle in the Nazareth tournament, in the championship of the Nazareth tournament. End up losing to them by 4, or no, I think we ended up losing by 6 or 7 in overtime. And it's kind of weird, but I think that loss was the best thing for us. Kind of gave us an idea of, okay, we do have what it takes, and we're that close. Our district comes around. We handle the district, pretty easily. District's not real strong this year. Kind of was a little bit of a concern going into the playoffs. We're about to run into some juggernauts, and sure enough, we run back into Wellington again in the quarterfinals. We end up coming out on top of that one. Going into the regional tournament, playing Stanford, that group is going to be really good. In next year, a couple years from now, they're going to be pretty salty. They gave us a test. then we had to run into Panhandle and for the regional finals, and that was a great game. It was a defensive battle. It was every possession is key. Crucial little things like decision making, turnovers. You were going to have to be on your A game to get past that game for sure. Again, took care of our business, came out on top of that game, and then went into the state championship.
Yeah, I know in the state finals you had a knockdown drag out with the Munster Lady Hornets and Coach Hightower's group. Sounds like just a juggernaut of a game. And you said you said several things, but one thing that struck me is I'm really interested to learn about decision making on the court and ways that you can help influence that and help teach that to your players. What decisions do you think really matter when it comes down to it?
I think there are a ton of decisions. What we feel is that it's our jobs as the staff, as the coaching staff, to put these kids in every situation possible that we can come up with in practice time and through the preseason, that when it comes down to a situation, we're not going to be caught off guard. We're going to be able to, guys, do you remember when we did this? Do you remember how we played this? And like I said, we've got some really smart kids, and these girls just understand a lot about the game. And again, I can't say enough about the coaching staff that I have, being able to turn my back and know that it's getting done exactly the way that I want it done. And we allow our kids to go play the game without having to necessarily think. We try to take that aspect out of it and let them play the game of basketball. And we try to rep so many things and so many times on different situations and scenarios that it just becomes normal and natural to them.
Man, that's awesome. And I think that's such a big part of the game. And I love your approach to that, Coach, and your program. So speaking within your program, what is the bread and butter that you guys do on defense?
Defense, that's where we've got this year. We had offensive people all over the place. We had Bailey Maupin, Maddie McCloy, Brenna Butler, Cameron Arms, Andy Salgado. We had kids coming off the bench, and we had a deep bench this year with Kirsten Babbs. And we had offensive people that could put up points. I knew that probably wasn't going to be a problem. But what I wanted to make sure to do is make sure that we didn't change anything necessarily this year, but I wanted to make sure that we, follow along with our guidelines on if they can't score, they can't win. And making defense the foundation of Lady Hound basketball and what we are. And we take pride in it. We probably went 60% defense this year, and then 40% offense in our practices for, most of the time. And it was just what we tried to do is develop a pride in the fact that they cannot score on us. And if they score, it's going to have to be a very hard fought offensive possession. They're going to have to get in a situation to where they're going to have one good look, possibly, and then that's all they're getting. And if they don't make the shot, it was very crucial. And we statted this up. Very crucial that we get the rebounds and we lead the game in offensive and defensive rebounds. So defense is where we try to sit there and hang our hat, take pride in what we do. We've got 3 different kinds of defenses on man, and we tinker around with our scouting report and what we feel like is going to be best against this team. And the person that's in front of you was always your responsibility, and you needed to make sure that you took care of your responsibility. It was important. Your man getting past you and scoring a layup, that was never going to be okay, and we were not going to allow that and let that be okay. I don't care if that was the best player on their team or whatnot. That just does not happen. And they bought into the belief system and the standard of what we felt like defense to us needed to be. And I felt like we did a great job this year defensively.
Yeah, and looking at your scores, you sure did. And so how much zone, if any, you mix into your schemes? And then in your man-to-man principles, are you more of a pressure man, are you a pack man, or kind of a hybrid?
We played zero zone. We feel like we got the personnel that we can play you heads up. Now then, what we would do, depending on our scouting report and and the way we felt on personnel is we have what is called, man 1, 2, and 3. Man 1 is all out, come and get you. Everybody's deny. Man 2 is traditional defense, on ball, deny, midline. And then man 3 is if my man has the ball, I'm playing pressure defense, head up. If my man does not have a ball, I got a foot in the paint. So, and then we would change things sometimes due to personnel. If this kid right here was guarding a kid that we could kind of maybe come off of a little bit on the wing, if she was deny or one pass away on the wing, she had butt to baseline. Maybe another matchup on the other side if in deny was traditional, hand in the passing lane. So we tinkered and we twisted and kinked stuff and made some things that we felt like benefited our personnel that gave us a little bit of advantage on top of their personnel.
That's wonderful and great adaptability, Coach. And I'm sure many, many coaches that listen to the pod know that in the girls' game at the 2A level, there's a lot of offensive firepower. And I saw it in my region. Obviously, you saw it in your region, but all around the state, the 2A girls' game is just loaded with players that can flat out shoot and make plays. But I wanted to know what were some actions that you saw in your region or at the state tournament that you found were hard to guard and defend against from what teams were throwing at you offensively?
I think a bunch. I mean, there's the coaching that's up here that it's. I'm not saying it's any different than anywhere else. Just the coaches that we're around every day is that you better be on your A game. It's going to be a chess match. You could have kids going out there and like panhandle. They're going to come out there with the flex and they're going to run the flex until you fall asleep and then they're going to stab you on it. You got other teams that can sit there and they've got the true point guard slashers. They can slash, you collapse, they kick out, hit the three. That's why I think that it was very important and crucial for us to break down every situation and scenario that we possibly could in practice, whether it was on the penetration, whether it was on the kickouts, whether it was on the closeouts, whether it was on making sure we double down on the inside or midline's coming over here to help, or there's just so many, all those situations we had to plan on because any team up here can run any different things, several things. And if you're not prepared for that, they can find it and exploit it and you're in trouble.
That's great. And switching gears to the offensive side, do your schematics change with personnel, or do you kind of do this, the same offensive scheme each year, or how do you run your offense, Coach?
Well, we try to keep it somewhat similar. Now we'll make some changes due to personnel. We'll run some high-low, some of Coach Tate Lombard's 2-game stuff that he ran at Wall a little bit. We've tinkered with that a little bit with the personnel that we had. Again, we had 13 kids on varsity this year, and so we had opportunities to rotate some kids in and out. And by doing so, sometimes it would change us up to maybe be a little bit faster, maybe a little bit quicker ball handler. So we would do a little bit more slashing, dribble drive type stuff. We have our bigs in, then we would run some more 2-game or some 3-post stuff that we ran. So we had the great opportunity due to the depth that we had that we could be very versatile and taking some of the stuff that we've done in the previous years and kind of just beefed it up or tweaked it a little bit that fit our personnel.
Yeah, it's great. And with 13 girls on varsity, I'm really interested to hear about how strong your culture is to keep everybody locked in and on the same page.
It's got its, bad days. You play certain teams. Sometimes you don't get to rotate in as many players and get players as many minutes as you would like them to have, as they would like them to have. But I think it goes back to the relationships you build with your kids and the culture that you establish within your system, that we're all in it together. Whether you put 1 minute on the floor, you put 25 minutes, you're all still responsible for where we are at today. And we don't put one person out there in front of everybody and be like, this is our stud, this is what we're going to rotate, scheme everything around. You are all important, you all matter. We need you to go to the next level. And it's a belief, it's a trust system, and it's developing the relationships with these kids to get them to understand that, it's sometimes it's not just about you. It's about the tradition, the standard. We take pride in, these girls take pride in that when you get a Lady Hound basketball uniform, that doesn't mean that's just a uniform that you put on and you can get to go do whatever you want to go do. There's a standard and an expectation when you put that uniform on. And the community has supported that. They support athletics in these kids. And it's just a belief system that I believe has been developed before I got here. It was just made my job a lot easier in wanting to add to what I feel like needed to be done.
Yeah, that's great. And working closely with community and administration and the kids and the school really creates something special. And obviously for you guys, it created something really, really special. So let's go inside one of your practices. Give us a outline of maybe what a practice looks like for you guys during district when, everybody's tired and the grind season is hit. And maybe perhaps even a drill or two you'd be willing to share with coaches.
Well, our practices, especially when district comes around, we try to back them off to about an hour and a half. Prior to that, we're putting in our time, putting in a lot of reps, putting in a lot of shots. District rolls around, and we try to back off on them just a little bit, knowing to the fact that, especially the group that we had this year, we knew that we could possibly be playing well past district. So we wanted to make sure that we focused on us being fresh and started dealing with a lot more upstairs work versus body work. During especially the second half of district, but we're going to walk into our practice. We, depending on who we're playing that week or the following, the next district game, and we do some build up stuff. We're going to dynamic. We're going to just kind of take some things easy, take some things slow, get your body and your mind right. Then we're going to run into some up and down shooting drills. Those staples that everybody 5-minute drill, 3-man weave, and you got shots on the outside coming back, 3-man weave on the other end. We've got 3 or 4 drills like that we try to incorporate in there, kind of keep things, fresh and moving. One thing that we do try to take focus on is that when we get done with one thing, we're moving to the next and we're getting it done quick. We don't want to sit there and waste time. We don't want to lose focus. So there's always a clock running. There's always a score up on the board. There's always a consequence for those that did not meet the number or got beat in whatever competition or drill that we were doing. But we would usually sit there, and depending on it, it changes quite a bit. But we're going to open up with defensive stuff again. 9 times out of 10, we started out with defense, and then I ended on offense, and then we ended on team. But like I said, we went about 60% defensive stuff. Then we would go 30% offensive stuff, and then we would end with some shooting, but with shooting incorporated throughout the practice itself for sure anyway. And we like to focus on, if I'm working on defense that day, if we're working on a drill, I got my other coaches, they're working on the offensive side of going against the defensive side of things. So we're not just always – I feel like we can knock out 2 birds with 1 stone. So you guys make sure if we're running shell drill, you guys are taking care of your offense. And if we're running the screens, make sure we're setting them up right. If we're running penetrations, make sure our footwork is right. While I'm over there, harping on the defense side of things. So we feel like we can knock out a couple of things at the same time on the offensive defense side of things. But drill wise, I don't know if we did anything that nobody else ever does. There's some drills that we've done. Depending on our person or the scouting matchups, offensive drill. I think one drill that we like to do is we call it 3-5-7, and everything that you score is worth 1 point. It's up and down drill. If a team scores, they're at 1 point. If they score again on any kind of score, 3-pointer, 2-pointer, they'll be at score number 2. In order for them to get past 3, 5, and 7, when 3 comes up, they have to hit a 3. So they hit that 3. So now they're at 3. Anything counts as a 4. They have to hit a 3 for a 5. Anything counts as a 6. They have to hit a 3 for the 7. Game's over. First one that completes the 3-5-7 will win that one, and there'll be a consequence for the other team. So that's a drill that we like to do, kind of offensively, speeds things up a little bit, gets them thinking a little bit. We can call sets in there every once in a while. In transition, we'll call out some sets where we can sit there and isolate a 3-point shot going on while they're trying to have to focus on getting down the floor quickly, but also focus on listening to coaches and what we're kind of calling out to make sure we can focus on that as well. One drill that we like defensively a lot is we'll call it 4-on-3, no 3. And we're depending on the teams, like I said, we got a 4-guard front, 3 people on defense. So you're going to be, defense does not have the advantage at this point. So the offensive 4-guard front, we're going to sit there and they're going to penetrate and kick out. And they're 4-on-3. The 4 that are on offense are trying to score layups or trying to score inside the 3-point line. The defense is running them off the 3-point line. We're not going to give them a 3. We're going to make them put the ball on the floor, and then we're going to have to work on our defensive rotation of sealing over, dropping back, and whatnot. So it really does make those 3 on defense. They really got to go to work. And if the defense does score, depending on that day, however we want to do it, if we want to send them up and around on a little run, or we want to sit there and make them go and get until they get a stop or whatnot, we just kind of tweak it to where we feel like our strengths are that day or our weaknesses are that day, and we make sure we take care of those.
Man, that's awesome. 3-5-7. Let's go. I love that drill, coach, and thank you for sharing.
Yes. I mean, it's a fun one. They love that drill. It gets pretty, I'm not one of those. I used to be back in the day, real control freak, and I needed to make sure that we're out there looking like little soldiers, and I've kind of, 21 years, sometimes I've backed off on a little bit of that, and I've got to let these kids play. And sometimes when they've got to hit a 3 to hit 7. Sometimes I don't call out anything. I let them figure it out. And sometimes it's done. We'll be in transition. We got a layup, and in the drill, you can score the layup, but you're not going to get to 7. Some will sit there and score and try to go back and play on defense. Some will kick that sucker out, and they'll set up a set play for an outside 3. But it's kind of fun just to kind of watch them coach themselves out there on that floor and kind of make some decisions on their own. It's kind of a proud dad moment when you see a decision out there like, yes, I finally did not have to say that one more time. They finally understand what I'm saying now. So that is it's up to kind of watch them, take care of that drill on their own.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And what a great blending of communication. And the kids have to sometimes figure things out within your scheme. And I love the idea of validating the drill and not ending the drill until that 3 is made. I love that, Coach. That's awesome.
Thank you. We like that one. We'll do. I know this is everything that we've stolen. I mean, I think that if you're a good coach and what you do, you research, you study, you watch videos, and you steal whatever you can steal that's going to benefit your program. And defensively, we will really sit there and go on, stop, score, stop, that series. And we will really pride ourselves on that one. I'll put the JV, they'll go on a score, stop, score, while the varsity goes stop, score, stop. And that drill can get physical. It's fun to watch these guys get after that and getting them to understand that if I can get 3 of these stop, score, stops in a sequence, then we kind of put the numbers to it, and they kind of understanding, oh, that's what he's talking about. We get this 3 times in a row. Here's a score we could possibly have, and here's their score. We can do this throughout the game. That makes our jobs a whole lot easier. Just kind of putting a little bit of why we are saying what we're saying on paper where they can visually see it versus he keeps saying this, but I don't even understand what he's saying, So this kind of validate why we're doing what we're doing and we're saying what we're saying.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And for analytics within your scout, how heavily do you lean upon analytics when you're scheming for district games and playoff games, etc.?
Coach, I don't know if we go a whole lot on it. I think we will find the people. We'll scout it, and one of my assistant coaches will stat it up, and we'll have some percentages and where this player likes to shoot from and where they're getting the rebounds. And then, we'll kind of look at that a little bit. But again, I think every game is gonna be different. I don't think that always numbers are going to sit there and make sure it's going to tell you what you can and cannot do always. So we'll keep those in the back of our minds, and we'll kind of relinquish some of those numbers to our players on this is where she likes to go. She'll post up on the left-hand side, but she always goes baseline, or she always comes back to the inside, just stuff like that, and where those shots are coming up from. But really, I think it boils down to here's your player. This is what, she likes to do. This is what they like to do collectively as a unit. offensively, defensively, transition, press break, type kind of things, and we kind of really just work on a few of that little stuff. But it's about what we do. That's what we try to focus on. If we go out there and we do what we do, and we feel like we've been prepared in most every situation possible that we could think of, I don't think we have to worry about the numbers. I think if we just focus on what we do, use our strengths, hide our weaknesses, then I feel like we'll come out on top.
Yeah, I love that focus on the internal, maybe as opposed to being externally focused on every action the opposing team could be running and then trying to scheme every game that way. I think that could be a little bit difficult to do at the high school level and with the age group that we're working with. And speaking of the kids that we're working with, how do you reach the modern athlete and get them bought into the program and fired up to be a part of that?
We have got here at Gruver, we've got a unique group of kids. Again, I think it goes back to relationships. I can sometimes get wrapped up in the rut and kind of got some tunnel vision and this is a game, we got to play this, we got to get this, this is a game we must win. But at the end of the day, we're still dealing with kids and it's still just a game. Listening to Coach Gomez from LCU, talking to him one time, was really uplifting in the fact that, he's like, kids are going to be kids and the kids need to be kids and allow them to be kids. Basketball is just a game, and sometimes I think, he's right. I think we get wrapped up a lot, sometimes too much in the wins and the losses of things and making the playoffs or not making the playoffs. My job's on the line here, but at the end of the day, we're still dealing with kids. And I think that when you develop those relationships that, hey, how are you doing today? Hey, what's going on? Hey, how's class? And you can talk some things outside of just the game. I think these kids will realize and think, well, he does care about us and he wants to know more about us than just basketball stuff. And when it comes down to practice time and game time, I think that helps with our expectation of guys, let's go out there and play and have a good time and do what we can do and win. And with the success that Gruver's had in the past, it's beneficial because all these kids growing up and watching this, I really just step right into I'm going to be next. I'm ready to go, and makes our jobs as coaches a lot easier because the expectation, the standards, has been set before we got here. But again, it's just building those relationships with these kids and getting them to understand that you love them, knowing the commitments, the hours that they're fixing to put in for your profession and what you do, and the commitments and that they're fixing to make. And it goes a long way just to sit there and show them that you're human, they're human, you're a kid, go be a kid. Let's have fun. Let's do what we can do. When it's time to go to work, let's go to work. But when it's time to cut up and jack around a little bit, let's mess around. Let's make fun of each other. Let's laugh a little bit at each other. And then, basketball, when it comes back to us, it's time to go to work, then we'll get in there too and get after it.
Yeah, you're just speaking, I think, coaching gold because you're talking about kid-centered programs, and that's really, to me, how the modern kids thrive, not only with wins on the court, but a really healthy team culture built within the team. But Coach, what advice would a current day Coach Fisser give himself 15, 16, 17 years ago?
Relax. Take advantage of the good situations and don't let the negatives always eat you up. Focus on the little intangibles. I remember starting out early in my career, my third year as a head coach, for my first year as a head coach, walked into this. It was in Gruver, Texas. Being from Sudan, Coach Johnny Hampton, it's Canyon. He was my high school coach. So I know everything there is to know about the game of basketball. Walk in, I really realized I did not know anything. I knew how to sit there and get a bus from point A to point B, but there are things come up in a game that I did not know. So I really stress that you got to be a scholar of the game, a student of the game, and constantly, yearly, educate yourself, learn new things, allow yourself to make mistakes and not let it eat you up. have a good time with what you're doing. This year, 38-2, was the best year I've had in my career. So I try to make sure that at each level, I was allowing myself to let it soak in and enjoy it. When we made the state tournament at Roby 5 years ago, we're driving back on the bus, and it finally hit me what had just taken place and had gotten done. I didn't let any of that stuff. I wasn't allowing myself to enjoy or soak up what we had just got through accomplishing. It didn't hit me until the bus ride home from San Antonio what we had actually just got through doing. And I know you get wrapped up into the next one, and all the paperwork and all the things that's got to get taken place. But somewhere in there, you got to find a line to draw a little bit and allow yourself to enjoy what you do, because this is the pinnacle of all coaches of what we want to get at. I don't want to look back and like, man, I sure wish I could have, relished that a little bit more. I wish I could have joined that a little bit more. Sometimes you just got to slow down. And so that's what I would tell me, 18 years ago, is slow down a little bit, take care of the intangibles, focus on the little things in practices and developing your culture and your relationships, and, enjoy what you do.
That's great. Let's have a little fun here. So maybe if some of your players listen to this podcast, they can give you a hard time. But if Coach Fisher's rolling down the road, what music is he listening to?
Some rock and roll. He's probably jamming out to a little bit of rock and roll. Some days, man, he may have to throw a little bit of hip hop in there just to spice some things up a little bit. But they'll play music. We'll play some music every once in a while. They we'll be on a bus ride home having a good win. They'll throw on some Ice Ice Baby, and I know that song, and so I'll sing Ice Ice Baby for them a little bit. And I've kind of cut back on that a little bit because I didn't know they were Snapchatting that junk and sending it out. And then I got little elementary kids I teach in PE wanting me to sing Ice Ice Baby to them. So we like to have a good time. I love my girls. They're good group of kids, and they're fun to be around, but they give it right back to me as much as they can.
That's great. That's Ice Ice Baby on the bus. That's awesome. If you were going to vacation, would you be a mountains or beach guy?
I love the water. I was wanting to go before I chose going into coaching, I was going to be a rescue swimmer. And I love the water. But you cannot beat, especially in this Texas heat, going up to the mountains and just hitting out on the cabin, sitting out on the porch and watching the snow-covered tops of those mountains. But so I think it would just depend on the day. I love both of them.
Awesome. A book maybe you could recommend for coaches?
There's so many good ones out there. I've got a bunch of Wooden books. I love how he saw things. I loved, there's that one that he's talking about, that one excerpt he's talking about is that, the pulling the socks up to the knees wasn't a big deal to him, but it was a rule, because if they would take care of the little things like that, then they would take care of the other things out there on the floor. So his standard and his expectation and all the little things that he focused on, that would make that person a better player, a better person. I think anything Wooden is definitely something to jump on.
Awesome. And Coach, I want to thank you for coming on the Race and Pace podcast. This has been awesome. Congratulations on your state title. And I'm still just blown away, 38-2. Congratulations on that. And it sounds like you're just running a top-notch, kid-centered program that is great for the game.
Coach, I really appreciate you having me on here. Let me brag a little bit about my staff and my kids a little bit. It's always nice to be able to talk about a little bit about what you do and how you do things. And again, I can't sit there and stress enough the community and the kids that we've got that makes our jobs a whole lot easier here at Gruver.